Hi, it's Barry Neale again. So in this session, we're going to look at some of the situations where in the past you've had fears or anxieties, and I'm going to show you a technique which you can use to completely knock out any of those fears or anxieties. And we've got several of these techniques, so we're going to build on each one. So this first one, though, is a really, really powerful technique. I've used this with some of my personal coaching clients and my therapy clients to knock out terrible traumas from their past. You know, if they've got really bad emotions such as maybe guilt or shame or regret or remorse, we do this technique with them. In a matter of minutes, the feeling's gone. Now, I know that may sound a little bit far-fetched, but trust me, this technique is really, really powerful in the way that it changes negative emotions. So the first step is to pick a specific example to work with. So right now, what I want you to do is I want you to think about a situation where you kind of get maybe anxious or fearful, you know, maybe a social anxiety, maybe if it's talking to a specific person. Think about some situation where in the past you've got anxious or fearful, or where you just felt bad. And it could be other emotions, and you can use this technique with things like guilt or shame or whatever. So the key is you have to think about a specific memory when this happens. So right now, I want you to just maybe pause the recording and think about a time in the past when you felt really bad. Maybe it was a bad feeling. Maybe you got a memory, like when you think about this thing, you have this vivid memory in your mind. But stop the recording, think about that, and then press the play button, and we'll get back to it. Okay, great. Now I'm hoping that you've done that. If you haven't done that, go and do that now, because this program will work if you play along with the process. If you just sit there and watch it intellectually, nothing's going to change. So you have to play ball. You have to play along. So hopefully you've got a negative thought or a negative memory or an emotional state which, when you think about it, kind of makes you feel bad. So I'm assuming that you've got that. Okay. So now I want you to think to yourself, how do you know you feel bad? Do you have a feeling in your body? Is it in your head? Is it a picture that comes up? Just notice what happens when you think about this particular thing. Now what I want you to do is I want you to rate it on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 being no feeling at all, 10 being the worst feeling in the world. Okay, so just take a note of that, maybe write that down. So let's say, for example, you said, right, okay, it's an 8. Okay, so I want you to notice where you feel that, notice the feeling of being an 8. Now, you now need to follow along with this process. And this process works in the same way as some of the techniques of Chinese medicine work, that there are sort of meridians that flow through the body that if everything's working well, the energy flows through the body perfectly and you feel good. But when you feel bad, it's because there's a disruption in the flow of the energy. And so what this process does is it corrects that, and it changes the flow of the energy, and as a result you kind of feel much, much better at the end of it. So okay, so think about this memory, think about the feeling, rate it on a scale of 0 to 10, and then what I want you to do is I want you to follow along with me. First of all, I want you to take one of your hands, doesn't matter if it's left or right, doesn't matter, and I want you to tap on the top of your head, and I want you to say, I release and I let this go. I release and I let this go. I release and let this go. Then what I want you to do is to take all your 4 fingers and tap in the middle of your forehead here. I release and let this go. I release and let this go. Then on the side of the eye here, on this sort of bony bit, I release and let this go. And tap quite firmly, not hard, but firmly. I release and let this go. I release and let this go. Now under the eye, I release and let this go. I release and let this go. Then on your collarbone, you know, like you've got a bony bit there, with your whole hand, just tap underneath that. I release and let this go. I release and let this go. And then what I want you to do is I want you to take one of your hands, either one, doesn't matter, thumb and forefinger, wrap it round the wrist like this, and I want you to squeeze the wrist, and I want you to take a deep breath in and exhale slowly like this. And then take one more deep breath. And then one more. Okay, now if you follow it along, you should notice that whatever number that you started with a few moments ago has now come down. So I want you to notice on a scale of 0 to 10, where are you now? Now for some of you watching this, it probably would have come right down to 0. A few moments ago when I asked you the first time, it may have been a 7 or 8 or 9 or a 10, but now it's a 0. And if that's the case, great. Just move on to the next one. Or maybe do this with another memory, because this works with all sorts of things. So if you've got a load of memories to clear up, go ahead and do that with this. So just clear those up. But if it's just come down a little bit, let's say it was an 8 and now it's a 6, then what I want you to do is I want you to tap on the back of your hand here. Like if you were a karate expert, that would be the bit that you break the wood with. So I want you to just tap on the back of your hand here. Do this a few times, and then we're going to go back to the top of your head. I release and let this go. I release and let this go. I release and let this go. Then on your forehead here, I release and let this go. Side of the eye, I release and let this go. Under the eye, I release and let this go. On the collarbone, I release and let this go. And then again, squeeze your wrist and take a deep breath. And again. And more. Now I want you to notice how calm and relaxed you feel. And as you feel calm and relaxed, I want you to now think about that thought you were thinking. Think about that memory and notice where you are now on a scale of 0 to 10. Now, if you've done this, you should find it's come down considerably. If it hasn't yet come down right down to 0, then just run through this another couple of times. If you do this, it will work. But you have to go ahead and do it. You have to put the practice in. And then if you've done it successfully and it's brought that one down to 0, now think of something else. Another situation. Now, for example, if you have social anxiety, think about like maybe a situation that maybe is coming up and you're concerned about it, and maybe you're anxious about doing that. So do that with this. Think about how you think about that thought. Think about maybe going out with your friends or to a restaurant or a cafe or a party or whatever, and rate it on a scale of 0 to 10. So with 10 being worst feeling in the world, 0 being nothing. Notice where you are now. Think that thought, feel that feeling. Notice where you feel it in your body, and then tap on the top of your head, side of your eye, under your eye, collarbone, and then squeeze your wrist, and then take 3 slow breaths and watch the feeling come down. It's a really powerful technique. I know it seems really bizarre, but it works so well. So keep practicing with it. You can do this at any time as well. So the great thing about this technique is you can do it at home when you're on your own and work with stuff from your past. But let's say, for example, you're in a situation and like maybe you got to go and meet someone, or you got to go for an interview, or maybe you got to give a speech or whatever. Just do this before you get on stage or before you meet the person. Just make an excuse and maybe go to the bathroom or whatever. Just do this. You'll bring that anxiety level right down. And as a result, your confidence level will start to shoot up. So do this, practice it with anything and everything. The effects are fantastic. So make sure you practice it.